Man, gorgeous morning here in South Louisiana. It's cold, but not as cold as it was this weekend. Actually, end of last week, just really chilly. Water temperatures are down as a result. In fact, right here is 54. So I'm here at Bayou Liberty Marina. Just a beautiful place. Here on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain, and I'm heading out to fish the Lake Pontchartrain Trestle. That's a train bridge that crosses the east side of the lake. Tends to stack up with speckled trout this time of year. Also tends to stack up with boats. I'm sure that's going to be the case today. It's a holiday week, and it's just absolutely flat calm today. Just a beautiful morning. Really, in my boat, I'm kind of limited to fishing the trestle only on really calm days. And we got one today. Hopefully it stays that way. Not much of a tide range today at all. That may hurt us a little bit, but I'm confident we can put some fish on the boat. We'll see. There's a fish. Man, let me tell you, a prettier fishing morning has never existed. It is gorgeous out here. Virtually no wind, perfect temperature, a little cool, but it's gonna warm up today. It is just a nice day. It looks like this tide is just barely falling, but we're at the beginning of the fall, so that's a good thing. It shouldn't lessen up as the day goes on. A little bit of bad news. I see Chaz Champagne just maybe 150 yards that way, and I'm gonna be fishing that way, so I'm trailing him. He's an exceptionally good angler, so I know he's not leaving me a whole lot. I mean, look, I don't know how many fish I'm gonna catch today, but I just love jigging these bridges. It's my favorite style of fishing. Deep jigging, feeling that bite, setting the hook and seeing what you got. And the good thing on this bridge, you can easily catch 4, even sometimes 5-pound speckled trout, particularly on days like today where it's not too trafficky. And it's not bad yet. I know it's gonna get worse. There's a fish. All right, second cast, first fish of the morning. And it's a baby red. I wasn't expecting that. About a 13-inch redfish. But man, he's fat and full. Look at his belly. Come on, dude, I don't want to hurt you. There you go. Swim to your freedom. I take back what I said about the tide falling. I don't think it's doing anything. I can't see any movement at all. I mean, this tide is Abraham Lincoln dead. Now, typically when the tides are weak like this, the fish get a little bit off of the pilings. So I'm gonna pull out just a hair. I am a little bit close. Oh, good hit. Missed him. He was out away from the bridge.
This episode of Marsh Man Masson brought to you by Puglia Sporting Goods.
There's a fish. All right, fish number 1. I hope it's a trout. He feels like he's foul hooked. Yep, foul hooked. But I will take him. So that tells you they're not feeding. I mean, this fish just came and checked out the bait, decided it didn't want it, but I felt him, set the hook, hooked him right in the butt. That had to be humiliating, huh, dude? All right, I'm gonna take him home with me. About a 15-inch fish. I'm afraid that's how it's gonna be until this tide starts moving. These fish just are not feeding. They might look at the bait, they might think about it, but they're not gonna attack it, that's for sure. Need this tide to start rolling. Check with Chaz and see how he's doing. So Chaz said he has 8, but he caught them all almost back to back to back, and then they quit. And he said they were all 15 feet off the bridge, which is not surprising. This dead tide. There's a fish. So pretty in that calm water. It's a nice trout. And he took it deep. That's a pretty fish. That is a good speckled trout. About an 18-inch fish. We will take him. That was a hit. Good night, nurse. 3 hits in a row. All missed. He didn't miss it. All right. Pretty. Not a big fish, but so pretty. All right, little guy, you're going in the box because you're 14 inches at least. Yep, 14. Here we go. There's a fish. He hit me on the way down. He's not big either. Oh, came off. There's a fish. Another foul hook fish, I guarantee it. Nope, it's a drum. Not a legal drum, I don't think. We're gonna measure him though. But I think he's an inch too short. But drum this size, boy, they're good to eat. Really, really, really good. Let's see, big boy, how big are you? Man, he's close. He's 15 and a half. They have to be 16 inches here in Louisiana, so he's gonna live to fight another day. There's a fish. Feels like another, nope, it's coming up. That's a trout. Oh, nice trout. Boy, is that a nice trout. I hope he stays on. That's a good fish. So pretty in that water. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 18-inch fish. On no tide, I will take that big boy any day. He was hooked well. Death grip jig head, limbo slice colored matrix shad. It's a 3/8 ounce death grip. I was thinking about going down to a quarter with this slack tide, but I'm starting to pick up a few fish, so I'm gonna stick with it. The Armada has arrived. All right, so I changed to this 1/4 ounce with a Holy Jolly. With this light tide, I really feel like this lighter jig head is going to give me a better opportunity to kind of stay up in the strike zone. So we'll see. Now, the bad thing with fishing a lighter jig head, you got to be more patient and let that bait get down after each hop. There's one. All right, 1/4 ounce worked. Oh man, he took it deep too. I was not gonna lose him. Look at that. Sweet. Requires a little surgery. Not a big fish, but a keeper.
This episode of Marsh Man Masson brought to you by Matrix Shad, and by Fitzgerald Fishing, and by Cito New Orleans, and by Versamax Corks, and by Death Grip Jig Heads.
You pick up any more? Okay. I went down to a 1/4 ounce, made a big difference. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how that works. Yeah. Yeah, it shuffled the deck. Yeah, water temps are down. 53. Chaz Champagne, doing what he does. You're not bothering me in the least. Nice trout.
Nice quality fish.
15, 16-inch fish. Take that all day?
All day. I just...
Right. All right, here we go. Such good solid fish here. Of course, yeah, you definitely had to. Man, what a pretty day, huh? It's like perfect. It's beautiful. Yep. There we go. Staying down. He didn't come up at all. There he is. All right. What color you throwing? Oh, fish on. Come on up. Come on up. You're gonna stay down, huh? There you go. All right. Man, these fish are so fat. Look at his belly. He's definitely spent the weekend on the bottom. Fish on. That looks like a nice fish. He file hooked? Not even all that big. All right, that's a nice one. There's a nice one. Lake's a sheet of glass, speckled trout coming over the gunnel one after another. How can you not love fall in South Louisiana? I have no idea. This boat is a mess. So the train trestle is the westernmost of 3 bridges that span eastern Lake Pontchartrain. And for some reason, it holds the most fish. Probably because the pylons are a lot closer together and there's a lot of trash down on the bottom here. It always produces way more fish than the other 2. But none of the bridges are good when the lake is full of shrimp. When all the grass beds are loaded with white shrimp in the fall, that's where the trout are, having their feast. I mean, they feast on those white shrimp. Fishing's really easy then. But we had a big blow last week with that cold weather that came through, and that dumped the shrimp out of the lake. Obviously, there's still some left in here. It didn't dump every shrimp out of the lake. But that's when these fish start concentrating on these bridge pylons, and I think they go to feeding on shad, pogies, and mullet more so than shrimp. Now, when that tide's really ripping, those fish will be right up against those pylons, and you better cast there as well. And when you cast, you gotta feed line so that lure falls straight down. If you don't feed line, it's gonna kind of pendulum down. You won't get nearly as many bites. And when the tide's weak like it is today, those fish often scatter off of the bridge. And definitely today I've gotten most of my bites off the bridge. Now you gotta really like to fish to do this, because you really have to cover a lot of water. Everything above surface looks the exact same. Fish could be anywhere, so you really got to cover some water and see where they are that day. Once you get a bite, you can kind of work back and forth in that area, see if you can find a little school and stay with it for a little bit till it peters out. Some people just keep moving, and that's a big mistake, because these fish definitely school on these bridge pylons. All right, so Trestle fishing 101. Make a nice long cast to the bridge. Feed it line so it falls straight down, and watch your line. Wait for it to stop pulling so you know that that jig head has hit bottom, which it just did. Pick the bait up and put it down. Pick it up and put it down. Pick it up and put it down, and almost all your hits are going to come when that bait is falling down. Sometimes they'll clobber it. Most of the time it's just a subtle tick, and these fish love to hit it and spit it all in one fell swoop. That's why it's so important to fish with these medium heavy rods. I've got a 7-foot Fitzgerald here that is just an outstanding rod. All right, so the bite has slowed down dramatically. This tide just will not start moving. It's not a big tide range today, so I knew I was going to be battling the tide a little bit. But I did look at the buoys, and not far from here in the Wrigley's, the water is moving and it's falling. Not falling rapidly, but it's falling. It's doing nothing here. But that's really not surprising, I guess, because the Wrigley's is so constricted, that water's going to move through there, whereas this is a much broader body of water, so it's going to be much more subtle here. Probably is moving, just not a whole lot. But I wanted to talk a little bit about equipment. So important here on these bridges. It's more important here than just about anywhere because you're deep jigging. I'm telling you, if you fish good equipment, you will catch more fish here, no question, than guys fishing lesser equipment. It's just the way it is.
May not be fair, but it's the truth. So what I was throwing today was a Fitzgerald rod. I've got to tell you, this is my favorite rod I've ever used. It's a 7-foot medium heavy with a fast tip, and that's very important here. Number one, the rod is super light, and it's also extremely well balanced. So it just really feels good in your hands. So it makes it easy to make a lot of casts and fish all day without wearing out. But most importantly, the rod is extremely sensitive. And I detected a ton of strikes today that I would not have detected otherwise. Now look, I'll tell you this, flat calm conditions, you're gonna detect more strikes than you are when it's really, really windy using any equipment. But there's no question in my mind, this rod helped me catch more fish than I would have otherwise. And there are some other great rods out there, but I gotta tell you, I'm very impressed with this one. Now spooled on it, I've got 30-pound braid tied to 20-pound fluoro leader. And line is also extremely important at these bridges. Captains Mike Gallo and Matt McCabe, two excellent trestle fishermen on tough days, often go down to fish 10, 12, 14-pound fluoro mainline. But today, what helped me without question was switching to this 1/4 ounce death grip jig head. I was throwing a 3/8. I was catching a few fish, but once I went down to that 1/4, it made a big difference. Just causing that bait to fall more slowly, stay up in that strike zone a little bit longer. Probably if the tide had been rolling like it often is here, I would not have been able to get away with that. I wouldn't even tried it. But with this light tide range, that definitely paid dividends for me. So come on out here and do this. I tell you, the trestle bite is just beginning. It's just getting started. How long it'll run will entirely depend on the winter. We have a brutally cold winter. It's not gonna last very long, just a few weeks. If we have a mild winter, it'll run through the winter into the spring. And that's just impossible to say at this point. But this is a great place to come if you want to test your deep jigging skills, or if you want to get better at it. Now, you'll have to adjust your expectations. If you're not a very good deep water fisherman, you're probably not going to catch 25 out here. So manage your expectations. Just hope to catch 2 or 3 fish, but start learning how to feel and detect that deep water bite. Gotta let that bait get back to the bottom. That's the biggest mistake people make out here, keeping that bait high. Start with a 1/2 ounce if the tide is really rolling. And if you start really feeling like you're getting down and you're getting the hang of it, drop down to a 3/8 ounce. You want to go with as light a jig head as you can get away with. But this place is just magical. It's incredible how many fish it produces. As you can see today, it was jam-packed with bows. And still people were catching fish. And look, this is a Monday. We've got the Friday after Thanksgiving coming up this week, the most popular fishing day of the year. It's going to be an absolute zoo out here, definitely. Well, I think we're going to run south and make a few more casts. It's still fairly early in the day. It's probably about 11 o'clock or so. Make a few more casts, see if I can bump into anything. If not, I'm going to head for the house with a bunch of fish in the ice chest that I got to go clean. And I think I'm going to serve them to my guests on Thanksgiving Day. Well, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Marsh Man Masson channel on YouTube. Also, hit the notification bell so you get informed whenever we post a new video. Until next time, if we don't see you at the bridges or in the marsh, we'll see you right here on Marsh Man Masson.